Okay, so welcome to video number one of this special training. And in this lesson, I guess we could call it that. Yeah, we're gonna go a bit beyond our usual what we do on the podcast and give you some specific training and some prompts and some things to really think about at the end of this. So I want to make sure that this is actionable to you, however you relate to the theme of the day. So, in this episode, I want to unpack a little bit of the concept of a personal reinvention.
Mm.
And this is this is something that we've done before in a couple of different ways. I know it's one of your absolute favorite themes, Zan. You often say that a man has got to reinvent everything about his life once every 10 years or so. And I know for a fact that many, I would say the most engaged men who are listening to our message uh, typically are in one of two different places. They're either heating up, like something is bubbling and boiling within them, towards a kind of reinvention, or towards this dream of breaking free somehow, or finally taking the plunge and heading towards a more honest or authentic life. Or they are men who have taken that plunge and now they've landed somewhere, probably with some bumps and scratches, adrift on the other side of taking the plunge. So if I think about the men that I speak to often, they're in one of these two different places. We obviously I speak to a lot of people. We both speak to a lot of people that are in the process of taking the plunge. When we do a conference in Romania, and they'll show up beaming through the face, and everything is excitement. Oh, I just quit everything literally last week. Got a one-way ticket to Romania. Here I am at the conference, and I've got no ticket home. I'm just going to really rampage around Europe for a few months, and then the world's my oyster. I don't know what's going to happen next. Some of these men we never ever hear from again. Right? So we don't always know how that thing runs. But like when you're in the midst of the reinvention, you know that I can't wait until I can quit everything and go free and go to this place that I've longed to go for. Usually your life is happening so fast, there's not really a time to collect yourself, which is like the moment of the freedom run is so high octane. It's not such a contemplative moment. But what is a contemplative moment is the 18 months or so of feeling something's amiss with my life right now. I'm ready for a change. That gives a lot of pause for thought. And then the later, how do I actually integrate this new life? So what I want to pick your thoughts a little bit on the two sides of this. Like what words, what specific guidance do you sense is of real import and value to the man who's like, I want to change everything, but it's going to take me 18 months to sell my house, finish this contract, amass the level of money that I need to do this thing, end this relationship, which is complex. What, how to be in this period when you know change is nigh, but you've not arrived at the point where you can actually jump, through the window
Well,
just yet.
yeah. I mean, it's easy to say just walk away from it. But like you said, there's complexities there, and there's nuances, and there's things that you can't just like up sticks and walk away necessarily. But you can put your life in motion toward that goal as your goal in life. To like, I'm going to extricate myself from this career slash relationship slash treadmill that I'm on, because I want to have a life of meaning and an articulated life. And so I think that if you just, I mean, I talk about the Amorati ritual, the morning rite that we have, or morning devotions, and you sit with yourself and you have a prayerful attitude about how you want your life to look, and you contemplate it, and you don't know how you're going to extricate yourself from this relationship slash career slash treadmill. But you sincerely want that as a driving force for your life. You're arranging your spirit in your life to now make these things happen. I mean, circumstances nail us all. You might be in jail for 20 years and you can't go live in Bali, which is your dream, right? Maybe you're in jail. but or maybe you're in a wheelchair and you can't do certain things that you would like to do, but within the constraints of the circumstances that are around us, and circumstances are different than limiting beliefs. I'm not in shape, so I can't meet girls, which is a limiting
Mm.
belief. Because you can adjust this. You can adjust your wheelchair situation. So it's changing the direction of your momentum so that you're not just reacting. And I'm wearing the same clothes because it's what I've always done, and I'm doing this job because it's my job and it pays well. Um, if it isn't you, it isn't you. I mean, I lived that corporate world, and I was making good money, and I had good prospect going forward, but it wasn't the free flowing, scarf driven energy of me sneaking through the forest that I used to have. And so I reclaimed that and walked away from the entire, you know, corporate structured world because it wasn't me. It might be you, but it wasn't me. So um, I'm just saying that if something is twisting in our breast, this anxiety, this twinge of angst, that you get a twinge of something when your birthday comes around, year flew by, and you're still thinking this is not aligned with to my true north and what I want. Um, then you've got to make the path. You've got to make the decision and the sincere desire to say, I'm going to, no matter, I'm going to figure it out somehow. I'm going to go in a different trajectory, and extricate myself. And I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. I want to do it. I'm beholden to it. I'm beloved of the idea, and I'm excited for it. So
I
it's
want
just like,
to,
yeah,
yeah, I want to give some real honor to this period of time because it's actually a time that can provoke a lot of suffering in a person's life. And I've experienced this kind of purgatory before making the shift many times over. And in my younger life, it looked like having a dream to go travel or to go and live somewhere differently, but not yet having the funds, right? So I'd have to slave away and one day earn my freedom, so to speak. Um, for other men, it's going to look different, but the 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 time, the cooking time of realizing, oh yeah, there's something amiss in my life, to actually getting on the flight and claiming that image of freedom or change that you want, I think is beautiful and profound. And it's ridden with angst and it's ridden with solitude because at the start of it, like when I discover that my life is a little amiss, like there's a twinge in my breast, as you put it, typically the first thing I'll do is stop hanging out with my friends because the conversation that surrounds me makes no sense. Like I've gone to some other depth within myself, and I can't abide the the surrounding noise.
yeah,
Things like
yeah,
the whole world around me seems shallow. It seems like this. What's the film American Beauty, where everyone's stuck in some very conventional self-centered concern, and you start seeing through what's going on a little bit more. It's so disconcerting because often you don't have anyone to talk to who gets you. And if you do mention, oh, I want to quit everything and go and do something else, people think you're mad and they try and pull you back in from the windowsill, right? And make sure you don't jump out of the chicken coop. We want you to come back in and conform because we feel more safe when everyone's doing the same life decisions as we are, right? So men in this situation don't have a lot of places to turn to. And yet, at the same time, I think this is the whole period of time where the psyche is actually going through some profound transformation. And my sense is who you will be later and the depth of life that you're going to be able to create for yourself on the other side of making that shift is contingent on some kind of preparation work that you put in before you go. But there's no map actually for this preparation work. There's just kind of YouTube travel porn or like we are living the freedom nomad life. Come and join us in Kopanang or whatever it is. Um, I sense that this is a profound soul making period of time. I'm curious if you've burnt through this or you have some kind of anecdote.
yeah. It's a it's a tough thing for men to completely transform and change their the trajectory of their life, which is what we're talking about here. It takes a lot of guts, and it was hard for me to do it. It took me years
Mm.
ensconced in the corporate boardroom before I had the guts to lay waste to it all and say no, because I'm going to die one of these days. And I want to have great memories, and I want to have a mystical adventures, mystical love affairs, mystical journeys, And I don't have that. There's nothing mystical about my existence here. I'm working for a paycheck. I'm existing. I'm pretending to have a life outside of this job, a social life, and it's not me. And and you think, and I thought that you have to have a nest egg, you have to have completely pile of money saved up so that you can go and live this semi-retired life, whatever. And you don't, and you know this as well as I do. Um, I, I would go with no money and a one-way ticket and one pair of shoes and just see what I'm made of. Don't let my body collide with the earth a little bit. Get scared and like thrown into a situation that I don't know how I'm gonna sort it out. But we need that. As men, we don't have these challenges. We have a cushy life, which makes us cushy. We have you know conveniences of life, and we don't have to strive.
Can you say something about your inner life during this time? Because you've told the story about how you handed in your notice before and that everyone in your workplace was surprised. You've told the story about how you had this expensive furniture and you gave it away. Like these are the material things of downsizing and packing up and shifting. But like, what in your inner conversation, were you like reading old blog posts of people that had done it before you, or
No,
what
no.
what was the rumination, and was there in you like a, would you call it suffering, would you call it, was there a twinge in your breast and angst?
I was intuiting this, because I harken back to literature and cinema and things that mythic journeys. I've always said that, like the greatest movies and the greatest books are the ones that are a journey from order to chaos. Like the
Hmm.
movie The Sheltering Sky, Apocalypse Now. Those are the ones that are fascinating to me because we have this suburban, pedestrian, normal, life, and to go into the chaos and to see, the a journey is, to me, that's fascinating, as opposed to a journey from chaos to order and
Mm.
entropy type of thing. And I just fit
Which
that
is
in.
which is a journey that some people have to take, right? That
Right.
you're going in the other direction.
So yeah, and it's not like wanton destruction. You're not heading toward that, but you're heading to the unknown. Where the old maps used to say, we don't know what's over here. Here be dragons. As far as we know, if you keep sailing this way, you can hit dragons. And some intrepid explorers said, I'm going to go check it out because
Mm.
So so that feeling of wanting to know what's beyond the horizon. If you're a seeker of any kind, and we only appeal to seekers. If you don't have a seeking heart, and I mean that in the broadest sense, you're seeking a more spiritual journey. You're seeking a more excellent version of yourself. You're seeking a great experience with a great woman. If you're not a seeker, a treasure hunter, you won't relate to what we're saying here, and you won't align with it. Say, oh, I want to get a bunch of money. That's all I want to do. That's not seeking. That's accumulating. You're not trying to find the mystical reason that money would be some kind of expression to you. You're trying to find
Mm.
the artistic expression what that means. So I forgot what his name.
Could
I
I
forgot what you
could I
thought.
say, I know you wrote in your book that you're not so into psychological analysis. So I asked this question kind of mythopoetically, let's say, not psychologically, but would you say that your psyche somehow was already primed, either from your youth or because of watching movies like The Sheltering Sky and Apocalypse Now, which are like, you have to put these at the top of your watch list if you're in this preparation mode. Do you think that art like this, literature like this, stamped something into your psyche that had you think, this is where it's got to go, towards
Yeah,
the mystery?
yeah, because because I was poor with no opportunities in northern British Columbia, Canada, and I honestly didn't have ambition beyond just trying to get a job because I didn't know. But I dreamed about the world and the, I mean, we had the World Book encyclopedias when I was a kid, and I read those things, man. I read the encyclopedia back to front. I would take the book letter, I would take book M and just start going through it, you know, and the wide world out there just was so phenomenal to me, and it's this incredibleness. But at the same time, I had this poverty mentality. I got to get a job and you know get a car and get a paycheck, and so I can buy a TV and be a normal person. And those two things were at odds with me since I was very young. But I went down this path because I was broke and I got to figure it out. I didn't realize that I could go into the world without having some preparation of some kind. That the world would, that I would have the resources within me to make things work. And so I had this double life where I dreamed and dreamed and dreamed since I was young, but I slaved and worked and accumulated. So I got the fancy furniture and I got a fancy apartment and nice cars, and none of it fulfilled that existential twinge, that angst in my breast that said, this is not the wilderness child that I always was. This is not the lithe, supple, sneaking through the forest energy that I was born with. So,
When, just by the way, when do you think that twinge got untwinged, salved, balmed,
yeah, I'll tell you,
tweezed out of you? When,
I had
when was the moment the angst went away?
I had a corporate job for many years, and when I quit that job, the story's out there. I gave 2 months notice to my company because I was a pretty high executive, and I quit into nothing. And I never thought about it again. When I hit the road, it really shocked me because that corporate world and the company I worked with was a part of my identity for a good chunk of my life. And when I left, it's like it didn't exist. Like it was a dream I had.
Mhm.
It completely didn't. And I was always broke, one-way tickets. But man, I was making memories and I was meeting people and I was doing experiences. And I felt so I would examine myself and realize without, it just hit me suddenly that, man, I don't have that anxiety anymore because my idea is this. We talk about finding our purpose, finding our, passion, this kind of stuff. I think that because I think that everything is quantum fields, and I don't know this, I'm not a scientist, but physicist, that beauty is a field and we're either aligned with it or we're not. We're in synchronization with the rhythm of beauty or we're not. And when we're not, we feel angst and anxiety and nervousness and our we don't know it, but our whole reason for existence or our whole thing that we're longing for is to be aligned with beauty. And so when we're not aligned, we don't know what's bothering us. We don't know why we have anxiety. We don't know why we're not content in this relationship. It's just not, doesn't feel right. And I don't get it, but it's what I got. So all I'm talking about is like I was misaligned before when I was in the corporate world, and then I became aligned. I didn't know. I wasn't certain, okay, I got my path and here's my purpose and here's my now I know the end from the beginning. You still don't know what you're going to do tomorrow or the next day or the next month like I'm in Romania now. 10 years ago, when I was traveling in various countries, I didn't know I'd be in Romania. Now I'm in Romania, and it's like you don't know that. In 10 years from now, I might be somewhere else. I don't know the future, but I know that I feel aligned. And when I don't feel aligned is when I'm not staying true to my spirit, my nature, which is, excuse my voice, to be writing and contemplating and thinking, So it's alignment we're seeking. And if you're feeling that, something isn't right with your career, whatever, you're just not aligned with the beauty characteristic you see that you're longing for.
I'd like to say a few words and then direct this into something quite specific and actionable for people. So what I'm what I'm thinking as you're speaking is some of the themes like archetype and myth that we'll come strongly onto during this mini series that we talk about a lot anyway. Um, but you can conceive of a journey of voyage and return. So if you're going to, let's say,
Yes.
make a change in life, whether
Yeah.
you go to some other place or whether you just shift the culture and the decision, the commitments that you have back home, you could consider it a journey of voyage and return. This is very powerful actually to claim within the psyche because you make a claim that I'm going somewhere and I'm breaking out of the current habits of living that I've got. Now, if you go somewhere and you know you're going somewhere, and this really gets ramped up the day you buy the flight ticket. So even if it's many months out, as soon as the buying the flight ticket is that obviously you can cancel it or change the date, but it shifts something internally. It's almost like saying, I'm going to go to the jungle and take an ayahuasca trip or take some kind of ceremony. Already, everything in the psyche already starts to form and shift itself to prepare for the reality of change that's coming. Right. So I believe that this, let's rather than say, I'm feeling like a bit of a misfit in my culture and I'm feeling a lot of angst and a twinge, an existential twinge inside me and I'm unhappy, you could also reframe that and just say, look, I'm clearly in a sort of preparation mode for a voyage and a return here. So I've seen a lot of people also try and shift everything in their lives. And they'll come to a place like Bali or Thailand or Romania or Mexico. I mean, there's just a whole host of countries that people go to when they want to make a popular place when people want to make a shift. And I see a lot of people that don't land very well on the other side.
Right.
I've got to say, people that give everything up and then they slop about. After a month or two of exhilaration comes a sense of void or meaninglessness, which is when you don't have the job and the structure that you had before, and now you have this infinite freedom. Well, you've got to actually confront that sense of freedom and make something of it. Because without any other guardrails or expectations of who you can be and what you do with this time, a lot of people actually fall into an abyss, which is without my job defining my identity, I have nothing except for my passport to define my identity or my Airbnb or who? No one. And one of our members wrote the other day, I love dating a woman outside of my culture because she doesn't give me any of the kind of conditioned anchor points to my old self. I'm free. But for a lot of people, to have no conditioned anchor points is actually terrifying. Who am I going to be if I end up in a new place? And I think that there has to be a lot of preparation actually that you want to do before taking the leap, so that when you land on the other side in some foreign country whose language you don't speak and you don't really know how things work, and as soon as the dates and the novelty and the friendship circle disappears, all of a sudden you're kind of stranded. And what
Yeah.
you need, I think, is some inner substance actually to take you onwards, because you can't rely on people just like, oh, Zan, come and be part of our friendship group and we're going to love you and include you here. That might not exist in the place that you're going.
Well, I think I don't think you need a lot of preparation, Jordan. I disagree with what you said there, and maybe we're saying the same thing. But it's like the problem with that is we have this existence and this way of perspective, way of looking at our lives in the world, in this job, society, pub I go to, etc. Then we uproot that and we go and plunk ourselves down to some other country, for instance, because that represents change, if nothing else. If definitely that's a
Yeah.
change. But we don't do it in a contemplative way. We just go there and we complain about the food, and like back home, we compare, and so we're just the same guy that's just uprooted and stuck in Bermuda shorts in a tropical climate. You're the same guy. You're not approaching it with feelers and going and say, okay, what is this? What does this mean? What is the meaning of this? What is it? what is you don't have a contemplative uh, attempt at it, so you become a tourist and not a traveler. You become, it's like we have shrines, um, that people gather around, and we abstract them into museums, like things that used to have meaning and symbolic meanings for cultures, right? We put them in a museum, and the tourists walk by these meaningful, sacred, uh, um, sorry, statues and that kind of stuff that had meaning for other people, and they just gawk at it and keep walking along the glass case. And that's the kind of same thing we're doing when we go to another country. We quit our job, we go out there.
Yeah.
We're just the same guy that's gawking at the artifacts and the curiosities, and we're tourists looking at souvenirs, and we're gathering souvenirs, and we start dating girls. It's a souvenir of my trip. I'm dating
Yes.
a Thai girl, and she's a souvenir. We collect. So you haven't changed. You're not
Yeah.
contemplating. You're not looking at it in a curious, um, contemplative way.
Well, this is what I mean by preparation. So just to be clear on what we're talking about, the preparation I'm talking about is all interior. Like, I don't care if someone doesn't know where they're going to stay on their first night. Like, they've got no hotel or lodgings booked and they rock up at the airport and they're like, oh God, how am I going to get to the center of town? That's totally fine to be unprepared in that kind of way. Maybe you'll want that, or you want at least to cover your insurance or something like that, right? Or your methods of payment when you go abroad. Okay. But the preparation I'm talking about is um, working with yourself so that you can make the kind of meaning that you're talking about. Right now, you're in a place
Yeah.
where the preparation is like, how do I find meaning in this angst-ridden situation in which I want to get away, and the path is not yet clear, and I can't get away as quick as I want. And then the what you want to be able to do on the other side is be like, look, I'm isolated in this foreign country, but like in this complete open space, I can I've got some kind of internal way of building a sense of meaning, because like you say, the chance, and I've seen a lot of guys do this, you can rock up in Bucharest on a street down from yours, get an Airbnb, get your food delivered 3 times a day, and then go out to meet the friendship group twice a week. And when the friendship group is not meeting and your food is not getting delivered, you're staring at a blank wall wondering, when's it going to happen? Right?
Yeah.
That's not the situation that you want to be in, but a lot of people do. So the preparation is all internal somehow. It's how you turn towards your fundamental curiosity, how you turn
Yes.
towards your dreams, how you turn towards your imagination and learn how to romance a place.
Yes.
And
100%.
this is my understanding of the world of romance. You say the Asmarata is the rebirth of romance. I don't think that there are romantic places. Like Paris is not particularly
No.
is not romantic, or Florence is not romantic, or Kyoto is not romantic in itself. It has a lot of old and beautiful things that inspire a sense of romance. But you are the person fundamentally that romances the place. So if both of us go to Bucharest and you're like, I want to pour the romantic sense into the time and place and significance that I have here, then you can have a romantic time in Bucharest. But if I go to Bucharest and I'm like skeptical and judging, Zan
Yeah.
said this place is romantic. When's it going to happen for me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, gimme, gimme, gimme. This place actually has to give me the feelings that I seek. Then I'm on a losing street. It's not going to happen. I'm going to end up being a weary traveler who's critical of every place that I go to in the world. So wrapping it all up, the question is, or the preparation, how do I build within myself a sense of romance that is going to drink every drop, press every single drop of juice that I can get out of the places and the experiences that I go to
Well,
when
you just
I'm
got to
when I'm out
cultivate
there.
curiosity. Curiosity will save you. Curiosity, if you go into any country, any new city, if you're curious and not judgmental, but you're curious about your own role, why you're there, what brought you here, why did you not want to stay where you were? You think about these things a lot. If that curiosity about your own experience and about the new culture, for instance, um, gives you that contemplative sort of quality I'm talking about. So
Do you ever? So my kind of takeaway exercise, apart from watching and reading some really inspiring things, is to pay attention to your dreams and to have curiosity about your dreams.
Okay, what does that mean? How
Well,
do you do that?
the dreams that you have at night when you're asleep, just as an exercise of
Oh, I see.
self curiosity or self knowledge, right? So a lot of people, they want a different life and they want to know where to go. Where are all the beautiful women? What are all the beautiful places? What's a cheap place where I can have a nice experience and have no one get in my way, right? So these are kind of prosaic or utilitarian almost choices of what your travel schedule is going to be or your itinerary is going to be, but they're not so inspired. And I
Right.
know a lot of, I've met people that have said, look, I went to all these places that everyone else goes to and nothing really grabbed me. So by monitoring your dreams, and I do that, I
Mm.
write down for 3 or 4 years actually. The first thing I'll do in the morning is roll over and grab my phone and write, like, I just
Wow.
caught hold of the last dream before it evaporates from my awareness. And I write it into my phone, what's happening. I put myself in the dream, and I've got 3 or 4 years of dreams written down. So I've got no shortage of bizarre little short stories that I might write
Lots
one
of men
day.
and women, I imagine.
Oop, you don't know the half of it. I mean, there's stuff that happens in dreams that would never be able to happen in fantasy. That's one thing that I discovered.
Mhm.
Um, but I sense, where do I travel to have, or where do I go, or how do I even make a change in my life that's in a more authentic direction? Well, a lot of people I found can't figure it out because in their day-to-day mind, they're really locked into what they're locked into, and it's difficult for them to think outside of their own box. So they might be like, well, I can travel to Bucharest because Zan went there. I could travel to Bali because Jordan is there and someone has left the trail. But where would you travel if, um, or where would you be, or what would you do? What work would you do? What purpose would you do? What relationship would you have? Um, if your limited mind was not in the way.
Mhm.
Well, one place to figure that out a little bit is in your dreams, because in your dreams, stuff is coming up. And I might have, just to share, I might have 50 dreams and they're all pretty banal. But then the 51st dream comes along and it's like a stonker. And I wake up in the morning and I'm bedazzled. Like I've just been hit by a sledgehammer. I had such a vivid dream of this person, this place, this time, this feeling, this quality. Um, I'm really bewildered. Like that's a sense of curiosity and wonder that comes out of the dream that I could start to then explore more in the world.
Hmm. That makes sense. That's interesting.
And it's likely to be a track that follows, let's say, my own inner guidance. If I'm following hints and breadcrumbs that I get out of my dream life, it's more the decisions and the choice, the directions that I go in are more likely to come from a sense of inner guidance than a sense of following somebody else. For me,
Yeah.
this is, if we talk about a person's mythical journey, a voyage and return, and you going to the place that you need to go to, that's much more a sense of that's a real mythical path. Because there's a limitation to following other people's mythical paths. It's a starter, right? Like staying in Bucharest might be a starter, but unless you have an archetypal historic intergenerational resonance. We talked about this before, like you have family that came 40 miles away from where you live now. Unless you have that particular, I would say, spiritual predilection, maybe Romania is not your place, but you might be connected to Antarctica or to the Himalayas or someplace in Africa or
It goes
something
with
else.
the archetype, how you see yourself, your future self, so, which is a whole new thing we talked about before. But yeah, it's like you're not copying somebody else. You're taking the essence of what was valuable from that person's experience and trying to incorporate it into your own experience. You're
Mm.
distilling something you're distilling the influences from history, literature, etc. You know, Zan went to Bucharest, Jordan went to Bali. I don't necessarily need to do that, but I want to distill the essence of what that is, and add it to my life. Add it to.
Do you do you have any final practical suggestion for somebody who is in this, I'm calling it preparation phase, like pre-voyage or
And
just
just
post-voyage? That maybe someone who hasn't, who's gone out there but hasn't quite landed into what they hoped the freedom might look like. Any word for them?
yeah, just practice a contemplative curiosity. Like make that a daily practice, and really just sit with yourself without your phone, without music, and just sit quietly and wonder, here I am, or here I'm going to be. What does it mean? What does it mean? It maybe means nothing, but but the contemplation has value no matter what. So that you are eyes wide open, looking going forward through your days and your weeks, as opposed to just I'm this transplant from Cincinnati and now I'm in Phuket and I'm still a Cincinnati guy with the same planes. I'm trying to get a girl, and you're just a guy. And there's nothing that is there's, women meeting you. There's nothing in them for them to latch onto as a mythical character,
Mm.
larger than life. And it's not. They say, well, that's performative, like that's trying to act like something, but it's performative in the way that uh, a house is performative of architecture. You know, it's like it's 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 kind of it's made for the same purpose. You know, so um, anyway, I have this notion that every interesting life. I wrote this yesterday. Every interesting life is interesting because they've chosen to be interesting. They consciously tried to create it as an interesting expression of themselves. They tried to poeticize their existence
Mhm.
consciously. And that means not just what you're wearing and what you're looking like, but where you're standing, how you're speaking, the way you move, the way you express yourself to others. It's all um, consciously chosen and created. Has to be.
Mhm. The one man's bitter rejection and anger of being stuck in a kind of non-freedom or personal jail
Yeah.
is another man's gestation of the
Yes.
possibilities for who I might become on the other side.
Yes. It's like pilgrims or tourists, like I said before. Pilgrims gather around uh, points of meaning, and tourists walk by and tick it off their bucket list. I was there, you know, and so tourists gawk. They gawk at things, and pilgrims contemplate things. So this is the change that you need to prep yourself. Go into the world with this contemplative mode that everything is has a spiritual aspect to it. Everything is leading toward the transcendent, whether you think so or not, and have a transcendent way of thinking of things. There's something beyond my normal uh, food, girl, take a dump. There's something beyond all
Mm.
that, you know. And if you and maybe you'll never discover what that is. None of us will. But at least you're thinking about it. At least you're trying to. Something changes in your eyes when you shake the hands of a woman. She sees something different in you than just a guy who's a tourist coming to Monterey. So
Let's bring it to a close here today. We'd love to hear one thing that you take away from today's training in the comments below. And if you have a personal story that resonates with this content, feel free to share it with the others.